What's up, everybody? So, obviously, this is not a recap, no Peggy video, but I did have something that I wanted to talk to y'all about. So, over the summer, I experienced what I would consider being at the lowest point in my life that I had ever been. And it all started around the killing of George Floyd. Now, I always said that when that whole incident happened, it really just brought a lot of things to the surface. For me, one of the things that I saw was that Latinas really are not for Black women the way I thought they were. And this was something that I had already been kind of realizing, but it didn't hit me as hard as it did until that happened. So I remember his killing happened around the end of May. So that weekend, all the way up until the following week, all I was seeing on my page were Latinas centering themselves in this, when this is about Black lives. And they were finding ways to just add themselves into the conversation, and that was very damaging, and it infuriated me. So I put up a post, and I said how I felt about it. And what I said was that Latinas and white women oppress Black people the same way. Obviously, they do it using different words, but it's all with the same intention. And I was not ready for the response that I got back. I received a lot of just hatred and nastiness, and in my DMs, in the comments, it just got really nasty. And at first, I thought I had a handle on it. I started just deleting, blocking all the negative comments. It eventually just got too much where I just had to step away. When I came back on the next day, it got worse. Again, just receiving a lot of negative comments and Latinas telling me that their feelings were hurt and that I was racist and basically starting a race war, and men in my DM, Latinos saying just really nasty things. And it put me in a very horrible place because I started to believe these things. So after that, I was in the middle of doing the Insecure recaps. So I said, after I do the recaps, I'm getting off of social media. So when I got off, I started basically going on a downward spiral. I had extremely high anxiety, paranoia. The thought of even going outside made me cry hysterically. I ran away from my house. I was staying in Brooklyn, Long Island. I even went to Cleveland. I was just all over the place. And it got so bad to the point where I felt suicidal. I felt like I don't want to feel this way anymore. This is another group of people that I basically don't feel safe around. As a Black woman, we got the race and the gender, right? So white people really ain't for us, men ain't for us like that. But this was another subgroup of people that is dag, y'all too. It just felt like too much. And I felt like if speaking up yields this much hatred, I never want to speak up again. I never want to speak up about any truth. I never want to do this again. Luckily, I did not consider ways that I would commit suicide, but I did have those thoughts. And I had those thoughts for a while, and that's not something that I thought I would ever, it's not a situation that I thought I would ever be in. So over the summer, I also had like less than $100 to my name. So I couldn't afford to see my therapist. So that was another layer of just like feeling isolated and like no one could help me. So I just did a lot of writing. Luckily, I had friends that supported me and my family was there for me. But it was a really, really rough time. So when the election came around, and it was such a joyous weekend, and we made so much history, and Eva Longoria made the comments that she made, it put me back in that emotional state, because I felt like, again, Black women can't have anything without somebody trying to co-opt it, rain on our parade, or just simply erase us. And it just gets frustrating having to experience that over and over. So when I said that I had experiences that were rising to the surface again, that's what I was talking about. As of right now, my feelings on Latinas is very complicated. I do not hate anybody, but I also understand that I do have feelings of frustration, and these feelings are valid. And I don't need anybody to validate those experiences for me. And I think that over the summer, that was one thing that really set me back, was that in some way, shape, or form, I was looking to them to validate my experience and say, yes, Destiny, like, we do have anti-blackness built into our culture. But if nobody ever validated my experiences or my feelings, that doesn't mean that they aren't valid. And that's what this experience taught me. Another thing that this experience taught me is that I cannot control who stays in my life. I cannot control. I'm only responsible for me and the messages and ways that God wants me to put those out into the world. And it's up to you if you want to stay or if you want to leave. And as someone who's very, very, very passionate about mental health and doing what I can to stay sane, I cannot save everybody. I cannot be everything to everybody. And I'm tired of doing that. And before the summer, I realized I was trying to be liked by everybody. And if you're saying something, especially on behalf of Black people, it will receive pushback. That's just the way the world is right now. And thankfully, I'm not in a space where I'm not suicidal. Thankfully, I'm not in a space where I'm having those suicidal thoughts anymore. But that PTSD episode was a horrible episode, and it was a place I never want to be again. And y'all, like, that was just it. And like I said, the election, it just brought those feelings up again, and I was just feeling really angry, and I don't always allow myself time to process my thoughts or even validate my thoughts. And what I will say is that you are free to come and go in terms of my page. I can't control that. Like, if you feel like my messages are too strong, or I'm too Black, or I'm too this, or you can leave. But if you want to stay, just know that I'm not just here to entertain. I am not just a comedian. I am not just a rapper. I'm not even just an educator. I'm a human being experiencing the world like everybody else. And I will always speak on those experiences, especially when those experiences reflect those of Black women. And you cannot, no matter who you are, claim that you have my back and be anti-Black at the same time. These things just can't exist. Also, as I acknowledge that I am holding on to feelings of frustration with multiple communities, I also acknowledge that I want to be someone that brings light and joy into the world. And I cannot do that when I'm holding on to feelings of animosity. So these are things that I am still dealing with every day. But the things that get me by are writing, praying, doing my rap recaps, doing Peggy, like being creative. These are all things that keep me sane. So, that's it, y'all. But I will attach some links at the either in my bio or like on my YouTube if you guys want to read up on anti-blackness within the Latino community, because I'm not just making this stuff up. And what I did notice in that post, because eventually I stopped looking at the comments, I did notice how many Black women were also experiencing the same thing. They either said it in the comments, or they sent me a text message, or they sent me a DM. And I cannot stop speaking up on behalf of me and the people that look like me. I will never stop doing that. So, before I finish, I do want to just like shout out a couple people that really held me down during that time. Shauna, Nina, Trey, Sydney, Key, Kyria, Jazzy, Nelly, Wes, Trap, Ray. These are my mom, of course, and my aunt. These are all people that really just like held me down during that time. And I really just want us to make progress in the world that we are in. And it's difficult, and every day is not fun or funny. But the fact that I do feel something tells me that I still care, you know, and that's what matters. So that's it, yo. I'm glad I got this out. And now I'm going back to doing things that like bring me joy. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.